You know, very rarely does the internet actually unite behind a cause with as much fervor and as much tenacity as they did for the Invisible Children Kony 2012 movement, or documentary rather, that was put on YouTube yesterday. And when I first saw it, I was really excited. I was happy. I've heard of the Invisible Children charity before. In fact, I was pretty involved in it in high school. My high school did a lot of work with them in like 2006, 2007, and 2008 or whatnot, and I think they continue to today. And so I kind of got a first-hand, or I guess a much earlier hand, experience with this whole charity. And the first thing I recognized when I watched the video that was put on YouTube yesterday is that a lot of those clips are the same clips that I saw in 2007 or 2008. And what they didn't tell us in 2007 or 2008 is that those clips were all older, from like 2003 and 2004. And what they still neglected to inform you in the video that they put out yesterday is that those clips are still from about 2003 or 2004. And, you know, to some people that might not make a lot of sense. You're probably wondering, Taylor, why do you care? I mean, it's only a small window of time that they're misrepresenting. I mean, sure, every video kind of has to pick the worst of the worst to make sure that people donate. But I have a problem with this. You see, I have a problem not with what these people are trying to do as far as their mission. I have a problem, rather, with the means by which they're conveying it. And I have to take a second here to establish this because I know otherwise people are going to get very confused about it. So there is a distinct difference between being against the cause of someone and being against the means by which they achieve the cause. For example, I am in favor of feeding the poor. I'm in favor of it, you know? But if someone comes up to me and says that, hey, we need to feed the poor, and the way we're going to do this is by providing lobster and, you know, super fancy wines and shit to the homeless, that's what we're going to do. We're going to provide them with that kind of food. Now, if I tell them, hey, I disagree with that because we could only feed a tenth of the homeless people for the same amount of money, that doesn't mean that I'm against feeding homeless people. That means I'm against the means by which he wishes to achieve this end. I'm still in favor of feeding the homeless people. I would just suggest, hey, why don't we use a more efficient means to make sure that we're actually meeting the cause that we espouse to want to fix. Now, at this point, I pretty much fully expect people to be coming out of the woodwork and saying things along the line of, but Taylor, why would you be against this? I mean, even if there's only like a small percentage of a chance that maybe a few dollars could get into the right hands, we should still just jump on it. We should still just go for it and try and make a difference. I mean, that's what we should do, right? Isn't that the right course of action? And to that, I say no. I tell the people who are going to comment that, since I know there will be many, that's the lazy way out. That's the way out that people will take if they don't give a shit about these kids from Uganda. That's the way out that people take if they just want themselves to feel better about a situation. It's really, really, really easy for us as first world people to donate a few bucks just to feel good. And you can tell that this huge first world circle jerk is just going crazy on Twitter. Everybody's having a great time feeling like they're making a difference by typing these words out. And that's the problem. Now, I kind of want to get more into the meat of the issue, which is the real kind of base data stuff that convinces me that Invisible Children is not a reputable organization to be giving millions and millions of dollars. Now, since they are a non-profit organization, they have to show you all of their financial data. And even though this is required, technically, they have not fully divulged this. They haven't shown all of their data. They've never actually been audited publicly. And anytime you see a charity that is not willing to be publicly audited, that is not willing to fully 100% divulge every penny that they spend, that is a red flag. That is an immediate red flag. You need to look at that organization, and I'm not saying that every organization that doesn't divulge all this stuff is not reputable, but I am saying that a good indicator of an organization that is not reputable is a lack of transparency. If they're doing something that's good, there should be nothing to hide. Now, essentially, when you look at their breakdown of expenses, you find that they spend about 37.14% of their money on Central Africa programs. It's really kind of vague, as with a lot of this stuff, which can be expected because it's difficult to kind of segment all of this stuff. And so let's look into that a little bit more. So only 37% of their expenses are actually sent to these programs that actually go there, okay? So that's just the base of it. That's just the absolute best figure that they could conjure, because you have to keep in mind that they're trying to put out a good image. They're trying to look good for you. So 37% is more than likely the best possible fraction of that whole that they could possibly convey and have it still be at least I guess, conducive with the data. So, to put it in perspective, that 37% is about the same amount of money that they spend on awareness. And if you don't know what they call awareness, there's awareness programs and awareness products. Awareness programs is a lot of stuff like web design, that's media, commercials, things like that. And the awareness products are things like bracelets and that action kit and DVDs and things that they sell you. And so that should be another immediate red flag. The fact that this organization spends as much money on awareness as they do on the problems themselves, since it wouldn't be an issue if they were espousing this goal of just trying to drive fame for this Kony guy, but that's not the case. They're saying that they're taking this money that you donate and utilizing it to help these kids directly, and that's simply not the case. Now, if you want to extrapolate it further, you can look at another graph which shows what the Central Africa programs entail. Now, all of this stuff is part of this 37%, okay? And the biggest section of this Central African programs is called the Legacy Scholarship Fund. That's over a third of all of their Central Africa program budget. Over a third of it. So of the money that goes to Africa, a third of it, over a third, 35%, is spent on the Legacy Scholarship Fund. Now, what is the Legacy Scholarship Fund? I decided to look it up and see, because I figured, hey, maybe this is a really good thing, and when I find out about this, it'll redeem them in my mind, and I'll realize what they're doing is okay. Now, the Legacy Scholarship Program is indeed a very good program. It's a good idea. It helps kids get educated in a safer environment. It's really good. Now, and so at first I was thinking, yeah, this is a good thing. And then I realized that it's only meeting the needs of 700 to 800 kids. Now, are you meaning to tell me that a third of their budget that is spent on these African programs is utilized in this one program that helps 700 to 800 kids? Now, keep in mind, I'm not saying this isn't worth it. I'm not saying that we're not helping these kids get educated, but I am saying that it is remarkably and just flagrantly misleading to say that they're using this money for all these things, and then when you look at their financial data, you realize that that's simply not the case. That's not how this is working. And it was really shocking to me, because when I looked at it, I really, really wanted it to be good data. I really wanted it to, because I like this idea. I think it's good, and it breaks my heart that they're not being responsible with their money, and that's really shitty. Now, in addition to this problem with the funding, you have the problem of misrepresented context. Now, instead of showing Uganda the way it actually is, in contemporary settings, like how it is now in 2012, they're showing you images of Uganda from about a decade ago, 2003, 2004. Now, that's extremely misleading. Now, imagine it like this. I have a Ugandan friend, let's say, that comes and visits me in St. Louis. Now, this friend knows the same amount about the United States that I know, as well as the average American knows about Uganda, which is nothing. He gets to St. Louis, starts hanging out with me, and I tell him, hey, I'm going to take you to New York City. And he goes, oh, all right, I don't know anything about New York. He speaks really good English, I know. So we get on the plane, we start going to New York, and he doesn't know any of the context about New York, nothing at all. And just as a way of formulating context, instead of telling him the history of the city, instead of telling him the founding, all the principles, I just show him pictures of 9/11. I just show him the horrible carnage, the terrible violence, all those images that are just imprinted on our minds for those of us who saw that on TV, just how surreal it was to see. And that's all that you show him. You don't give him any context, you just show him the rubble, the destruction, and that's what you show him. Now, when he gets to New York, he's going to be shocked when he finds out that there's not rubble everywhere. There's not people screaming and panicking in the streets. I mean, that's not surprising to you, because you know that obviously time passes and we fixed the problems, things have moved on, time has changed. It's a new era for the most part. Of course, there are still lingering problems, as there are with 9/11, but as a whole, you know, we move on. And as a whole, this Uganda problem is on the downturn. That's not to minimize any of the suffering. It's just to draw attention to the fact that people in the first world are being woefully misled about the nature of this this battle, or war, rather. So another thing you need to know is that the Sudanese People's Liberating Army, or something like that, they've pushed back the LRA repeatedly and just continuously since 2004 into the Congo. I mean, they're not really a threat anymore. He's not really a big player on the world stage. Does that mean that we should ignore Kony and say he's not responsible for those actions? No, that's ridiculous. But to say that this, in 2012, is the time to act and this is the time to seize the day and help these Ugandan kids is misleading. Thousands of these kids have died, tens of thousands. And to pretend that now is like when it's really getting going and now everybody's going to pretend to give a shit, I mean, it's not only sad, but it's just misleading and flagrantly misrepresentational of the context over there. And it makes me sad. It makes me really sad because, I mean, and I want to believe that the people that are involved in Invisible Children, that they're good-hearted people. I want to believe that. And what I want to believe is that they're actually, you know, just a group that really tried to make a difference, but they just got in too late and they just couldn't make a difference soon enough. That's what I want to believe. I don't want to believe that they're abusing financial funds, but that's the only choice that I have right now. I'm looking at their data right now that they have divulged to the public, which once again, I'll stress, has not been publicly audited, so they're not divulging full financial information, and I don't have any other choice. It's patently shown very clear right here that they are misusing financial funds and they are not using it to the benefit of these kids, and it's absolutely unacceptable. I recognize that this video is likely going to be very unpopular just because it's never popular to go against things that are really easy to paint in a positive light, but I feel obligated to, you know, tell you guys about this. So I would encourage you that when you look to donate to a charity, there's a website called charitynavigator.org, and what it does is it takes whatever charity you type in and search, and it tells you how transparent they are and how good they are at actually using that money to get it to the people in need. So I'd encourage you guys to use that, and once you type in Invisible Children to that, you'll see clearly that they're really not that great at being transparent. But that's all I have to say for now. Feel free to leave a comment. I'm sure that a few of the things I said are going to be misrepresented. I apologize. I can't possibly convey the subtleties of what I'm feeling about this in a way that's fully cogent, but I hope you guys understood on the most part. But let me know how you feel about it. I'll talk to you later.